Hello there. All right, so NHL referees, there's been a lot of talk about us and the job that we do as National Hockey League referees. So I figured that today, I've done a press conference on this channel before. I've talked about, just pep talk for referees. And since at this time of year, it always feels like I get called in to do a video for this channel. Check still hasn't cleared yet, THG. But I figure we'll do an ask me anything. This was put up apparently on the community tab for members and was put up on Patreon as well. So it should be fine. Shouldn't be a problem. So I want to go over the ref you suck chant first. Anytime that I'm out on the ice and skating around and I hear that chant, I always feel bad for my compatriot because there's always two of us. I know it's the other guy. I feel bad for the other guy because I know they're not saying that to me because, I do a great job. I'm fantastic. I love my holding penalties that I call, and I stand my ground on those. One question that I want to clear up here is the whole goalie interference thing because it's getting talked about a lot. Goalie interference here really depends on how we feel that day. It really depends on. Is the contact in the crease okay? All right, but is it important contact or okay contact? And sometimes it's okay, but it's kind of important, so we take it back, but it's not okay, so it's not as important, but it's not as important, so if we don't take it back, then it counts, and if it counts, then we didn't take it back, but if we take it back, it didn't count. So I hope that clears everything up for everybody, because I understand that, like, goalie interference is this big discussion point for hockey fans. Let me just go in here. I'll go through THG's giving me access to his phone. You might want to clear up your search history, dude. But we're going to go through the comment section here because what can go wrong when you go into the comments and you look for questions. Does the constant universal hatred ever affect you personally? But no, they're always chanting at the other. Are they mad at me too? It's weird. So I don't really think of it as hatred. I just think of it as like liking me too much and liking me so much and the job I do so much that people get angry about it because they know that they can't do what I do. That's always how I see it. People really hate me? Seriously? But I'm an NHL ref. How can they hate the guy who's out there keeping the rules and making sure things don't get out of control? And sometimes they do. Why does it often take so long to drop the puck? That's more of a question for the linesman than the referee. We really like to make a big show of the face-off, and sometimes there's like 4 or 5 face-offs in a row where we don't really get to delay things. And so we want to delay that 5th or 6th face-off. We like to build the tension. Really is what's it's building the tension. The fans get upset. The players are like, "Why'd you throw that guy out?" I've even debated about whether or not we should just have like penalties often on faceoffs and get to the point where the goalies are taking the faceoff because everybody else has been thrown out of the circle. But I get shouted down for that one. What is the worst thing a player has said to you in response to a call you made? The worst thing that a player has said to me in response to a call that I've made? They often ask whether or not my parents were married, or they basically insinuate my parents weren't married at the time I was born, which they were, and I even bring my parents like a wedding certificate and show it to them in between periods. It doesn't matter; they still say it. The ref you suck. I every now and then players will say that, but I always figured it's playful. So like already this AMA is kind of making me feel bad, and it's just as part of the game is me calling the stuff and the players not being happy. Why does no one ever chant linesman you suck? Syllables. It's too many syllables. I don't think that. Also, I don't think fans necessarily care. I think they figure that we can keep the linesman in line. So, for instance, if there's an offside goal, we should just be able to go over and go, yeah, that should count. Did you see how pretty that goal was? But apparently, how pretty the goal is doesn't matter. I've tried talking to Toronto while they're reviewing an offside and saying, "Look, you guys can't take that back. That's a beautiful goal." And Toronto's told me to stop contacting them. Ducks have been the most penalized team for a decade now. Why do you hate us? It's not that. It's the movie, the Mighty Ducks movie, which helped to spawn the name. I think if the name change took place, I think they might get less penalties. And then there's just the fact too that they hook and they hold so much. There's only so much I can see, and there's a lot of young whippersnappers on that team too. So you got to kind of teach them these are the rules, and you just keep sliding the rule book around a little bit. So you keep them on their toes, because what was a penalty 5 minutes ago may not be now, and what wasn't a penalty 5 minutes ago might be now. So you got to keep them. You got to keep them anxious and somewhat upset. I find hockey players play hockey better when they're somewhat upset about things. What was the justification for the calls? Justifications often that, I call it as I see it, or I mean sometimes no. Do I think the fans are paying me or the players? Well, technically the NHL's paying me. I think, are the fans paying to watch you or the players? I would assume it's everything. I would assume that we are part of the cornucopia that is the experience of watching a National Hockey League game. What would you do if there weren't referees on the ice? Who would suck then? You'd have half the chance in the games to be gone. So you're welcome. I think we provide a lot of entertainment. Tons of it. This doofus over here that hired, seriously, the checks didn't clear. But half the time he's writing on the board. Fans call when the referee doesn't. You could stop that too, by the way. Did I have to kick player out of the face-off circle a dozen times in one game? Some of us like games to end before midnight. I personally think that NHL games are getting a little bit too fast. I like to just sort of slow things down a little bit. And if that means kicking Bergeron out of a face-off circle last season, or kicking Crosby out of a face-off circle this season, and next season, if we're kicking Horvat out, kick the guys out who are really good at face-offs and are really respected on face-offs, that'll get the respect of everybody. So, and it just takes some of that. I mean, the games are really fast. I get tired skating around so much. So if I can delay that face-off, I can get my win back. Nobody worries about me making a line change. Your shift was 2 minutes. Whoopity-doo. Mine's 20. So, are there fellow officials you just can't stand working with? Bill. I don't like Bill. Never liked Bill. Every time I'm working with Bill, I'm like, so I'm with you, huh? Damn it. I actually jump into the ref you suck chants and point at him when I'm working with. Bill's just useless. Why do fans call it and you don't? Fans, they're standard for penalties. It doesn't move as much as ours has the reputation of moving, but it can move. It can move. Then there are times where I think about blowing the whistle and going to center ice and going, okay, that tripping call you guys wanted, here's why I didn't call it. But I talked to Gary, and Gary told me we can't just blow the whistle to go to center ice to explain stuff, why we didn't call stuff. I think we should do that the first week of the season. Just blow the whistle and just tell the fans, all right, you guys wanted a call there. Let me tell you why I didn't call it. I didn't see it. All right, let's get back at it. Let's go. All right, now to the members' questions. Thank you for your service. You're very welcome. I am very, very glad to have been able to provide my service to you and to your team. Any calls you wish that you thought were an error and would redo if you had a chance? So basically, are there any calls that I feel like I made the wrong call on? Not really. I consider my track record to be pretty spotless, and every now and then, do I miss stuff? Sure. Yeah, every now and then, but very, very rarely. It's very, maybe once a month, I might be like, man, I missed that call, but in the end, I just make all those extra calls to make up for it. So it really does balance out. Step-by-step process after a referee makes a particularly bad and important call in a game. Well, you could ask Bill, because he sucks. Basically, if you make a bad call, you might get a call from Stephen Walkham. I generally, I take every third call I get from him. Outside of that, I just say I was driving through a tunnel. That's why I couldn't take the call. He's tried to call me out on that, and I've been driving through a tunnel when he's trying to get mad at me for that. So I just find that if there's a call that people aren't happy with, I'm happy with it. I just lay low for 48 hours and just kind of ignore the phone calls and all that, and it just kind of goes away on its own. How did I manage to pass the vision test? Actually, to become a National Hockey League referee, I haven't had my vision tested. I've been tested on the rules. And I think it's important too that I did get 70% of them correct this year. I was at 65 last year. I think it's great that I got up to 70%. Bill was at 40, so really, all honesty, maybe Bill should be the one doing this next time. Why do calls change so drastically between the regular season and the playoffs? We're tired. Like at the start of the season, we got all this energy, and putting your arm up, like and leaving it up for like sometimes 30, 40 seconds, it's tiring. So once you get to the playoffs, you're tired of putting your arm up. You can't switch arms either. The NHL is very clear. You have to put up the right arm. So like I don't have the energy. I'm tired. And all that skating, like I said, the 20-minute shifts, 3 games or 3 periods at a time, and then you got overtime goes on forever in the playoffs. I'm just tired. So it's sort of like, I would have called that in October, but my arm is really sore. And plus, fans seem to really appreciate and really get into it when these hits get a lot more dangerous and a lot faster and a lot heavier. So, I mean, you're welcome. I don't understand. Does anyone ever say to you, ref, you're awesome, dude? Um, I had a fan say that once. I did think that he might have been intoxicated at the time, and then he was doing this, which, as I learned from the movie Dodgeball, means love. So I gave him like a little heart hands back. I thought it was a nice moment. I do believe that's for love. But he did say I was awesome. That was the one time. Hopefully he wasn't being sarcastic. It's important. Uh, what's your take on the uniform? Is it black with white stripes or white with black stripes? Yes. How do you determine what is icing and what goalie interference is? Well, those aren't normally tied to one another. Icing is basically sometimes it's within a step of center ice, sometimes it's right at center ice, and then it's on the linesman really to decide on what is or isn't icing. I can overrule it every now and then. I'll overrule it, but generally, I mean, offside they get right most of the time, so icing's usually correct. Sometimes we do rock paper scissors on who has the right to overrule who, but that's rare. We don't talk about that publicly either. And then the goalie interference, I talked about that. So yeah, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's fine, sometimes it's not. So that's as clear as we can get. How do I prevent dialogue with players, history with players, certain player names from generating bias or swaying calls? Sometimes the players can be jerks, and we talk amongst ourselves as referees. But yeah, that guy's a big jerk, and if we all agree that a certain player is a jerk, well, you know, we don't have an official term, but I've always called it buntinged. And I've called it that back to the 80s. Don't think it has anything to do with Michael Bunting. It doesn't, but certain players get buntinged where, yeah, sometimes that happens and they learn or they don't. And if they don't learn, well, the bunting will continue. But yeah, it's just kind of that work. Can I please try to read the bottom row? There isn't a bottom row on this board. As for I think that's another vision test question. Um, I did read the bottom row, and it said copyright 2014 on the last one that I read, so I did all right. Generally, figure the refs. Clarity would go kangaroo. Why this call? Why not that call? I really think people just worry too much about what the right or wrong calls are, and they don't really get into the flow, the feeling of the game. I think people would really benefit from understanding sometimes it's just that feeling, that flow that you get with a hockey game. And yeah, so you just kind of got to go with that flow of that game. As for the kangaroo court, we did have those games in Australia. We've discussed having a kangaroo court, but we haven't imported them yet or figured out how to get them to wear these nice jerseys yet. But stay tuned. When are you going to even it up? We've been short twice as often as them. Evening up the calls just feels more fair. It just does. So if Team A is committing a bunch of fouls and Team B's not, it just feels like it's unfair to penalize Team A for that. So Team B's going to have to kind of, suck it up. They're going to get a couple of calls that might be kind of borderline, but I mean, that other team seems sad about having 3 penalties, so you're going to have to get at least a couple. That's just standard. NHL refs, why did they get rid of nameplates and go to numbers? I haven't known a ref's name since Van Helleman, Schick, and Fraser. The reason being that anonymous is sometimes better, And then you have this universal experience when you're watching an NHL game where it doesn't matter who the referee is. You're probably going to have the same opinion no matter who's calling the game. But the nameplates went away. In part, it was a cost cutting move, and the NHL, being a big fan of not using nameplates. This video is making God angry. There's thunder outside. How they stay so calm when players and coaches are yelling in their faces? That's the meditation. We do a lot of meditation, a lot of referee meditation. It's a big old, we call it the Zebra Convention. We do that once a year in Palm Springs, and we just all get together and we meditate. Gary Bettman usually leads us in our meditation tactics. Sometimes Bill Daly comes in and does some yoga with us, but generally we have that meditation, and anytime everybody's all angry, we just go to that nice happy little place where we're calm and we're cool and we're centered, and that seems to go a long way. How come when a player gets a penalty for embellishment, there's still a hooking or tripping penalty? Either it's a penalty or a dive, not both. It's about evening it up. Maybe he tripped that guy, but he didn't try not to fall down. So since you didn't try not to fall down, yeah, sure, it's a two-handed cross-check in the back, but you didn't try to skate away from it. So the fact that knocks you down, it shows you're a weak player. And so we can't give guys penalties for being weak. I talked to Gary at one point about bringing in a penalty for falling down, and he said no. He said just call embellishment. So I was like, all right. So when guys fall down, I can call embellishment. And I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think it avoids a lot of arguing, too. Like, you're going and you're going. I mean, Steve Kazari has that down. You. Like, just, he's got it. Like, it's great. He's got that high school principal energy going on when you're gone and you're gone. Just, it's great. It's fantastic. How does the NHL hold referees accountable? According to the thunder and lightning outside right now, via natural disasters. Why are you always in the way of the puck? Not a helpful question, just salty from numerous bad calls. I don't know that I consider myself to be in the way of the puck. I did at one point ask Gary if I could start, carrying a hockey stick around. I like hockey. I love playing hockey. So why can't I, help out a little bit? Puck's in the corner. I'm in the corner. Here you go. Take it. I don't understand the big deal. I could just fling it up in the air and it's like a jump ball kind of thing, like basketball. But no, I'm not allowed to have. So every now and then, I might be in the corner and be like, whoops, my skate got in the way. Sorry, whoops. And, and then I feel like, hey, I got an assist on that goal. And I had 4 assists this year. I think that's pretty good. We keep track of those numbers too. We exchange those numbers every 2 months when we do the Zoom call between all of us officials. And my 4 assists, pretty good, pretty strong, pretty good numbers. Please explain so I actually understand why a player gets thrown out of the face-off circle and someone else has to complete the face-off. Personal choice, and sometimes we just don't like the look of them. Sometimes we're like, you just don't seem to be feeling this face-off. You just don't seem, your heart doesn't seem to be in it. So we put the guy out, put another guy in. It's the way things work in hockey. It seems to work pretty well. I think the players are relatively happy. They yell a lot about fudge, although my ears aren't necessarily what they used to be either. What would I do to make the game better, and why parameters for what is it or isn't a penalty changes. I mentioned that about being tired. Don't want to have to keep our arms up all the time. There's a lot of times that we could, and so we got to kind of have our arms up. Getting kind of nervous about all the thunder outside. Yeah. Apparently, I'm making the gods angry. When the fans call one, what causes you to does not? Sometimes I feel like the fans are kind of being smart. Kind of like, you know what? This is my game. This is my game. You're not calling that penalty in the corner. I would have. But now that you guys are all yelling about it, I'm not going to call that. I'm going to let him go head first into the boards. Now how do you like it? Tell me how to do my job. I don't go to your job and tell you how to scan products and how to do shipping or whatever your job. I don't go to your job and tell you how to do it. So you want to come to my job and tell me, fine. Do you have a whistle? No, I got one right here. I got a whistle right here. See this? See, it works. I have the whistle. Don't bring a whistle to a hockey game. It's a bad idea. Don't do it. But I have a whistle. That's right. I have a referee's whistle now. Do you get your dynamic vision tested every season? I've always been curious about this job that's focused on skill but not professional athletes. I'm a professional athlete. I skate like I think it's like 40 miles a game. It's a lot. At the very least, it might be maybe split between two referees, 20 miles each. But yeah, my vision's good. It's been perfectly fine. There was the one time that I was confused about whether I was talking to Gritty or John Tortorella, but I had been hit in the head with a puck that night, so I think that's what it was. I don't think it has anything to do with vision. Would it help to make more calls reviewable by the on ice officials, not Toronto, with the time limit once the play's retrieved by say 30 seconds? I'm not a fan of a time limit on making calls because again, games get really tiring. It's actually kind of nice to have like 7 or 8 minutes during a game where we have the monitor and we pretend we're looking at it for the play. We make the decision within 30 seconds. But we'll start talking about which restaurant we're going to go to after the game and who we're going to meet with. Sometimes we go through like financial advice. A lot of the time on the monitors, we're not really looking at the play anymore because we already made that decision. And we just make sure that people can't necessarily see what's on the monitor. What is a breakaway in the playoffs? Their breakaways are those Fanatics jerseys. They're called breakaways. A breakaway is also that's what you called those pants that had the snaps on the side. I hope players aren't wearing those on the ice because we don't need any of that. How much is Dallas paying me? I actually get paid from New York, from the NHL's head office in New York. So Dallas doesn't pay me anything. I did get a nice jersey the other night from the Dallas Stars. It was autographed by the team, but at any rate. Who decides to put away the whistles during games, or as the playoffs progress? Me or Gary? A lot of the times it's my decision. These whistles look really light. They're actually really quite heavy. So I mentioned how leaving my arm up makes it tired. Carrying a whistle around can be really tiring. So you just put that in the pocket, and then when it's in the pocket, it's kind of hard to pull it back because you got the string and everything. But taking it out of your pocket repeatedly. That's a good way to get a repetitive stress injury. I don't want carpal tunnel. So once the puck's in the pocket, I kind of have to say, you know what? It's the playoffs. My arm's sore. I don't want to get that repetitive stress injury. I'm just gonna have to let things go unless guys drop the gloves, and even then I'm gonna be like linesman. You better get in though. Those in there. Those guys look really angry. But yeah. What does a perfectly called game look like? Probably no penalties. That's nice because then I just skate around all night and just watch some good hockey, and every now and then I get to kick a puck here and there, and doesn't matter if I kick it in, still counts. So I'm being informed it doesn't count, mainly by the Thunder. What do I always try to call an even amount of penalties each game? I mentioned this because one team gets really sad. How long until AI referees national games? Actually, interesting fact, one of the NHL's referees currently is a robot, and he does have an AI brain. I'm not allowed to talk about it. I was told not to mention it. That's not happening. So don't make that guess. Is there really a rule book or just an unspoken gentleman's agreement between... Well, yeah. Yeah, it's him. Yeah, all right. But yeah, a gentleman's agreement between you and the players. I asked for, because sure as hell in 42 years I've never seen the rule book called. There's the unspoken rule book, very often discussed at a pub amongst referees. Sometimes players are invited, sometimes coaches are invited, sometimes officials are invited from other leagues to discuss. Angel Hernandez was at our last referees meeting. I don't know how he found out where it was, but I think it's because we had the all-you-can-eat buffet, and Hernandez is like, I am in on that. An umpire in Major League Baseball does a fantastic job. Excellent job. I really base a lot of what I do as a referee on him. What do I think about the consistencies of calls from all referees in the league? Excellent. It's fantastic. Would adding officials improve your ability to call the game correctly? No, I think I call it just fine. If you add more guys on the ice, and if you're talking about like some guy with like a monitor, well, yeah, anybody can call the game if they can see what's going on, but you need to be able to feel what's going on. You have to be on the ice to feel what's going on. Why do I miss obvious calls? I don't. That's a question for the other guys, really. Why do I hate your favorite team? You cheer for the Canucks. Huh. I saw something you didn't. Why isn't it a penalty? Well, again, you got to be in the field of the game. You got to have that flow of the game going on. How do I live with the fact I cannot be totally unbiased? Well, everybody's got some kind of a bias. There's always something. My bias is towards putting the whistle in my pocket and leaving it there for a while. Why am I still wearing a Boston hat? Oh, that's in the picture that THG posted. It's actually a Pittsburgh hat that I was wearing that night, and I had the sunglasses on because the moon was really bright that night, and then I had a stick that I was using to walk around to make sure I didn't run into stuff. But people took that the wrong way. All right, well, as the skies open up and we've got some hail outside, I'm going to go ahead and leave because clearly I've made the hockey gods quite angry. I haven't seen hail in quite some time. So, all right, there you go. Ask me anything with the referees done. Let me know your thoughts. THG might bring me back at a later date in order to answer other questions. So let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys for watching. It's been great. And keep your stick on the ice.